Does anybody know why the English book is called Numbers? Because the book starts out with a bunch of numbers. In Hebrew, however, the book of Numbers is called BeMidbar because it's the first most significant word, and that's how Hebrew usually titles things. It takes the first significant word, and that's the name of the section or the book or the work, whatever it is. And if anyone wants to raise a hand to read, or if you want to draw on the screen with the annotate, here's how you do it. Let's jump right into it. We'll probably move around a little bit just because if it starts getting repetitive, we're going to move on to something fresh. Who would like to read the first verse of the book of Numbers? Eileen, you want to get us started?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Vayomer Adonai al Moshe BeMidbar Sinai.
Ba'ohel.
Be'ohel Moedim.
It's just singular. Moed.
Oh, Moed. Okay. I don't remember this word. Echad.
Right. Be'echad.
Be'echad. Okay. Uh, Lecha De'esh.
La Chodesh. La Chodesh.
Chodesh. La Chodesh. Ha Ishne
Hasheni.
Hasheni Ba Ishha
Bashana.
Bashana Ha Bashana Ha
Hashenit.
Oh Hasheni Le Otem
Litzeitam.
Leitzeitan Me no, Me
You had it. Me'eretz.
Eretz Me Me Metitz
What's the Hebrew for the word Egypt? Mitzrayim.
Mitzrayim Le Asher
Lemor.
Leim.
Lemor. All right, so here's the word after which the book of Numbers is named because it's the first unique, significant word. I'll read through one time. Vaidaber Adonai el Moshe BeMidbar Sinai באוהל מועד באחד לחודש השני בשנה השנית לצאתם מארץ מצרים לאמור. Okay, so this is all the introductory information. The Lord spoke to Moses, blah, 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 time, place, saying. So what follows is the instructions received from God. Who's the next reader? Aaron? I can't hear you. Oh, there you are. Go ahead.
Su et Rosh Kol Odat
It's not an O, it's an A. Adat.
Adat B'nai Israel Lemosh Bechatam
למishpachotam.
משפחותם. לבית אביתם במספר שמות כל זכר לגלגלתם
לגולגלוtam.
עגול.
Good. Over here you said mo, and over here you said b or v.
Ah.
They got mixed up because I know you know it because over here you did the right thing and over here you did the right thing. Let me read through one time. Everyone can follow along. Sa'u et rosh kol adat bnei Yisrael lemishpachotam levet avotam b'mispar shemot kol zachar legulgelotam. Now, that's a funny word right there at the end. Do you all know any other word that sounds roughly like this? The answer is yes.
Gilgal, right?
How about Golgotha? They both have to do with skull. They're counting everybody, head by head, as it were. Well, they're counting heads is what they're doing. Or counting skulls, but Golgotha from New Testament context is this word right here. It's just probably the Aramaic version of it. Here it's the Hebrew. And let's see, what is the root of Se'u? Anyone?
Nasa.
Nasa. There's a missing nun here. So the root nun sin aleph means what?
Chief.
A
Prince.
nasi. Very good. A nasi is a chief. The root nasa means to lift, bear, carry. So a nasi is essentially the guy who is liftable, promotable, able to be a leader. Here it's a verb. The nun goes missing because nun is a weak letter. At the beginning of an imperative, some nuns disappear, some nuns don't. If nun is the first root letter, unfortunately, some do it, some don't. This one loses the nun. So, lift up. Well, it says take you. I know. Literally lift up. Et rosh, lift up the head. Rosh means some. You can see what's going on here. The interpreter's trying to turn a figure of speech in Hebrew into something intelligible in English. Lift up the head of every or each of the congregation of the children of Israel. Translation, take a census. Lemishpachotam, according to their families, levet avotam, according to the house of their fathers, b'mispar shemot, according to the number of the names of kol zachar, every male, legulgelotam, head by head. That's a decent translation. At least it includes the word head or cranium, skull, something. Counting heads. So what ensues here is going to be a bit repetitive, and like I said, we'll skip forward if it gets too bad. Who's the next reader?
Can I ask a quick question, not to side rail,
course.
not to, I don't want to disrail the dialogue here. But when David did this, and it was a sin against God, what was David's, what did he actually do that made it bad?
Good question. So the top two interpretations would be, first off, that God did not order the census to happen, and so David doing it was against God's, at the silence of God's instruction to do so. But I think the bigger issue here is that he's counting his warriors so that he has confidence in the number of warriors rather than confidence in the God of Israel. Joab, of course, was the one who was tasked to conduct the census, and to him, it was repulsive. He didn't even complete it. He said, "This is a horrible idea." So something was there that Joab understood. And I can't help but suspect that maybe the Bible left out a detail or two to try to maintain the honor of King David. I don't know, but given what the Bible says, that's all we have to work with. So David took a census when God didn't call for it, and maybe he was counting his army so that he could boast in it or put his trust in it instead of the God of Israel.
Do you think it could have had anything to do with the season or the month in which David made the declaration?
I don't know that. What do you mean?
Well, like you said, this is all about numbers, and there's a specific time when this particular count is requested on behalf of Moses, but David does it in an entirely different month. Is it Samuel?
Let's have a look. Do you know where it is in Samuel?
No, and I haven't looked at it in quite a while.
2 Samuel 24.
2 Samuel 24.
Verse 1, I believe.
Right. So Joab's saying, may there be 100-fold, may you have so many, but why are you going to delight in this thing? I haven't seen a date yet. Have you?
I'm looking at 1 Chronicles 21, where it says Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel.
All right. So this will be another version of it in Chronicles. Now, mind you, Chronicles is a compilation dating later, but it's still in Scripture. Again, I don't see a date yet. So I'm not sure when up. Yeah, I'm actually not sure. If you happen to find the date, let me know. Otherwise I don't know how to answer that.
Okay.
All right.
I'll research that. Maybe I can tell you next week.
Sure. Yeah. Annie, you've got your hand up. Would you like to read?
מבין 20 שנה ומעלה כל יוצאי צבא בישראל תפקדו אותם לצבאותם אתה ואחרון.
Good. So what's the purpose of this census? What's the explicit purpose for taking the census? Besides, God said to. Army.
To count
the
men of fighting age.
Right, fighting age. So 20 years and upwards, all that are able to go to war. So I assume that there's probably I don't want to say there's an upper limit, but whoever is too feeble or too old or too feeble or some other problem there that he can't go to war, they're not being counted, but otherwise 20 and up, that's it. מבין 20 שנה ומעלה כל יוצאי צבא בישראל תפקדו אותם לצבאותם אתה ואהרון. To whom is Ata referring?
Is it a direct marker?
Ata? Pronoun Ata, you? Who's the you here? Moses. Right.
Moses.
He's the one receiving the command So God is saying all of this to you, Moses, and to Aharon, his brother. Is Aaron older or younger?
Older.
Older.
Older. Who dies first, Aaron or Moses?
Aaron.
Who dies,
Aaron.
Miriam or Aaron?
Miriam.
Miriam.
Good.
Miriam.
Very, very good. I mean, not good that they died, but good that you all know that. It's incredible. Annie, that was a short little verse. Do you want to read this one too?
Oh yeah. ואיתכם יחיו איש למטה איש לבית אבותיו הוא.
Very good. ואיתכם יהיו איש למטה, איש ראש לבית אבותיו הוא. And why the repetition ish? This is Hebrew's way of saying each and every, or one by one, some sort of a repetitive action. So ish is being translated each and every man belonging to mate. What's the root of the word mate? What is a mate? I know it says tribe right there, but what is a mate?
Staff.
Exactly. Originally, mate is a staff. How do we get from staff to tribe?
Each leader had their own staff.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably about as close as we're going to get of a hypothesis there. It's probably a standard of some kind.
Oh.
Each leader has some sort of staff or standard or banner or whatever that everyone rallies to. So in a sense, the staff becomes representative of the entire tribe. So what's the root of the word mate? All right, can we peel away anything from this word lamate?
La.
Good. La means two or four or belonging to the. What about the mem?
Is it from?
It's not.
It's not.
There is a dagesh in the following letter, but that is not a chirik under the mem.
Hmm.
If it's from, it would be chirik with a
Yeah.
dagesh
True.
equals min. So this is the mem preformative, and that dagesh is probably telling you that a letter's missing. What letter usually absorbs into the following letter is a dagesh?
No.
What's nun?
No.
Nun. So what's the root? Nun, tet. This
Tet.
vestigial hey right here is a vowel representing a long lost yod.
You.
So this is a lamed yod, a root. It's a root whose third root letter historically was a yod and still is. Well, the root still is yod. It's just that it doesn't show up most of the time. Nun, tet, yod, from which we get the verb nata. Good. What is the meaning of nata? Anyone?
Tired?
No, lean.
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 You were going, oh.
Yeah, I was like, leaning.
Leaning.
So,
She was leaning.
right. Okay, so nata means to lean. So therefore, putting a mem preformative onto it or putting it into the miktal pattern is going to be some sort of an instrument used for leaning. Ergo, a staff. So you can look at both the root and the pattern of the word to figure out what the meaning of the word is. All right. Lamate, and then of course that staff eventually turns into a tribe, and we already discussed that. Ish rosh levet avotav hu. All right. I don't think there's anything else to discuss here unless you all have something to interject. And by all means, Tim or anyone else, you're more than welcome to interrupt if you have a question. And all right, let's see. These are, yep. All right, next reader. Diva? את רוצה?
Moi?
את רוצה לקרוא?
Okay, I can try.
Okay.
I apologize up front.
Okay.
ואלה שמות האנשים אשר יאמרו דו עתיכם לראובן אליעזר בן אור.
These are beautiful names. Anybody think about
Okay.
naming your kids some of these names? All right.
Not the way I read it.
ואלה שמות.
סליחה.
You did fine. The more you read, the better you get.
I'm
So,
sorry. I get nervous, Jared. So thank you so much for the opportunity to
course.
practice.
of course, I love making people nervous. I mean, I love it when you read. No,
I
seriously.
want to
though,
learn how to say it correctly.
Okay, well then go ahead.
Yeah, thank
Go
you.
ahead and read one time through. Follow along with me. Anyone else
Okay.
who needs to, here we go. ואלה שמות האנשים אשר יעמדו איתכם. That's an audible schwa because there's a dagesh in it. לראובן, said it too slowly. לראובן, אליצור, ben Shdeur. All right, so we're going to be reading a ton of names. In the English, names are pretty boring. In the Hebrew, I find them fascinating.
Yeah.
Because you get to break it up and see what that person's name means, and it usually has some sort of a cool meaning to it that might have a little bit of preaching, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so here we go. These are the names of the men that should be who, because in English, whenever you're talking about people, it's who, not that. But anyway, I digress. Shall stand with you. Who is Reuven?
Firstborn of Jacob.
Good. What is his name?
Yeah.
He's the one that slept with his stepmom, remember?
Oh no. Yeah.
A concubine and defiled her bed and
On the
so
couch.
he
Yeah.
so he got kicked out of firstborn status. And what does his name mean?
See a son.
Look, a song.
Look, a son.
Wow. That's like the time my friend named his bird.
Bird.
Yeah. Yeah.
My
Look, a
neighbor
son.
named his dog Dog.
Yeah,
Dog. My
Dog.
neighbor named his dog
That's
Dog.
hilarious. Hey, I'll tell you what. I mean, it works. It's
Sorry.
creative. Re'u is a command form. Look, Ben, a son. Well, I mean, it's the first time that it's the first son, so I get it, but still not very creative. My apologies. So, look, a son. How about the next one? Elitzur.
Oh, God? Is it
My
Uh,
God.
Was the
my
rock.
God is rock?
Rock.
Mhm.
Rock. God
Yeah,
is the rock.
Tzur would be more like a boulder. Okay. There are multiple
Oh,
words
he's a
for rock, stone,
Puncher.
there's a precipice of a cliff. This here would be a boulder, something that's not moving. Now, Elitzur could be my God is a boulder, a rock. But what else could that yod be? I don't know. Well, it could be an ancient relic, an ancient vestige of case endings before Hebrew dropped them. Hebrew used to have three case endings. What were they? U, A,
Ah.
E.
E.
Now, of course, there weren't any vowels in existence at that time, so nothing actually ever represented these three sounds, but they did exist, and we know it from comparing other Semitic languages and also seeing rare places in the Bible where they're still preserved. U is the nominative case. Does anybody know the cases like Greek or German?
Yeah.
The cases tell you how a noun is used in a sentence. A nominative case is nomens, noun, subject. So nominative case, subject. A on the end will be the accusative. That one's easy to remember because they both start with an A. And what is accusative? It is accused of being the object. Well, yeah, it's receiving the action of the verb. So that's the object, usually direct object. And E is the genitive, meaning from or of, which is either possession or genitive. I don't know what else to call it. So this could be God of.
Would that be interrogative?
A hey at the front is interrogative, remember? Like a hey with a short vowel like this is the interrogative particle, but I'm talking at the end of a noun. So historically, think of the word melech. So apparently the original form of the word melech was malku. And this u would tell you that the king is the subject of the sentence. How would you say, what if the king were the accusative object of the sentence? Then what it would be?
Melech?
Malki.
No. If it's
Malki.
accusative, it'll have an a at the end, right?
Malcha.
Malcha?
Okay, now careful where you put the stress. Right now, the stress is here. Malku. Malku. These case endings were not stressed. And if we change it into accusative, then it's going to turn into something like this. Malka. Malka. Well, isn't that the same as Malka, a queen? No, because Malka used to have a feminine tav at the end. So that would be, that helps if I put an extra cough in there. There you go. It would have a feminine tav in it. It would be Malkata. Or Malkata. See, now I'm putting the stress on the wrong place. Malkata. So it'd be like Malkata, something like that. And that ta says it's accusative. Well, how would you make a queen in the nominative case?
Naka.
Malkatu, right? This is your nominative case right here. So you need that feminine tav so we know that we're talking about a queen instead of a king. All right, so all this to say that Hebrew and every Semitic language did at some point have these case endings, but over time they fell off, much as it happened in many, many other languages. And then after it fell off, even the feminine tav dropped off as well, kind of like the silent T on buffet. So also malkat becomes malka. So tav goes away, and now we're just left with a vestigial hey at the end, malka. Aaron, question.
So does what you just said, does that apply to Melchizedek?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So you could say, exactly. So we can't be sure. Well, actually, we can, but we can't. Okay, I'll be fair. We can't be sure if Melchizedek is my king is righteousness or if it's king of righteousness. But because of how old the story of Melchizedek is, it stands to reason that E sound at the end is probably an original case ending.
Okay.
King of righteousness. So anyway, that's something to think about. This could be God of the boulder, the rock, which almost smacks of polytheism, so maybe not. Or my God is a rock, and either one. Okay, and he is the son of Shideur. What's that?
Spreader of light.
I didn't hear the first part.
Oh,
Spreader of light or darter of light. Something like
Darter?
shooter, shoot, no, like
well,
shoot.
well,
Shooter of light.
today,
Really?
today, like field.
Is it though? So it is possible
The
that this is
today
related to
field.
Sade, right? Sade. But remember that this is a scene and that's a sheen, and those are two different letters, but
Oh,
there is overlap. I was going to say between different Semitic languages, but within Hebrew as well. So I wouldn't discount it, but it might be something separate. Who is Shaddai?
Shaddai, yeah.
The
oh,
Almighty.
Almighty.
Right. And then the
Shaddai.
question becomes, how does Shaddai mean Almighty? And there's this huge question about the etymology of the word Shaddai. Nobody knows. There are four. I think there are four good theories as to where Shaddai comes from. I'll be surprised if I can remember all four of them. One comes from Shaddad. The other one comes from Shed. And another one comes from, is it Shadda? I think it's Shadda, which would have been an original Yod. I can't remember the fourth one. My apologies. But anyway, one of them has to do with mountain. One of them has to do with destruction. One of them has to do with memories. And so the question becomes, what's the origin of this word? How are we supposed to interpret it? Well, if it's like mountains or destruction, that is supposed to speak mightiness or almightiness. And that's where we get El Shaddai, God Almighty. But if we're talking about breasts, then it would be supplication, the one who provides everything that people need. And interesting, most of the time when El Shaddai is used in the Bible, it's actually in a context of supplication. So maybe. In the end, nobody quite knows, but whatever it is, maybe that's what the root is. But then, Christine, you said spreader of, and the last part here is light. What is the root for spreading light? I'd like to know where you got that opinion from.
The ESV. It's a Strong's.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember in modern Hebrew. I think it's what was it, lishader, to broadcast. So probably
Spreader of light, and then darter, a darter, as in
throwing
Yeah.
lights.
a dart. Yeah, like a
Now
dart.
that's
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Do I want to do this? I think I do. All right, so let's go back to Numbers 1. There we go. Hey, scroll down. Okay, so let's see. Spreader of light right here
Oh,
from H7704. There you go. A field. But that's Sade instead of Shaddai, but it's okay. All right. And then I wanted to show you all something. See if I can find it real quick. It's artifact and light and casting light. Let's see if I can find it. Oop, if I can spell correctly. No. Oh, I'm casting sun rays. That's what it was. Yeah, here we go. So this is an Egyptian relief, obviously. This is the sun, and each one of these has a hand on the end of it. Why? Probably bespeaking, sun god providing everything that everyone needs. So caster of light and supplication, there might actually be a play on words there. But anyway, this is as soon as we saw that, it reminded me of that that relief. So just wanted to share it.
Oh,
All right, next up. Oh, that's way too short. Who wants a little itty bitty verse? They're so cute. Go ahead, Eileen.
Le Shimon, Le Shemuel ben Shi, Shi, no, Si, Shem.
Suri Shaddai.
Oh, shut up. Sorry.
All right, Le Shimon Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai. All right, who is Shimon?
Second son of Jacob.
Second son of Jacob. His name means
heard or listening, hearing.
right. It has something to do with the verb shama,
Oh,
hearing. Shimon. We
God
lo-
hurts me.
we lose it when it's transliterated or translated into Simeon. How do we get from Shimon to Simeon? Greek.
The shins
Hmm.
are
Greek doesn't have an SH sound, and it certainly doesn't have an
Oh,
IN sound, so
okay.
it just drops out. It's the same reason why a name like Yehoshua or Yeshua becomes Jesus. Well, at least Jesus.
Oh,
It does not have a shin, and it does not have an ayin. So Yeshua becomes Jesus. Yeah. Shlumiel. What does that mean? Shalom.
No.
oh,
Yeah.
All right. Well, shalom means one thing. Shalom means something else. I mean, but the same root. It's got a different pattern. What's the difference between shalem and shalom?
oh.
Well, what's the difference between berech and baruch? Sagar and sagur, patach and patuach. There's got to be a voice of a passive voice in it somehow. So shalom would be something like paid or rewarded or can't say reconciled. Basically, there was I'm using the modern Hebrew too much, probably. There's a debt and it was paid. It is paid up, shalom. Now, in modern Hebrew, that would actually be shulam from the pu'al rather than a passive participle a'u, but it's probably still the same idea. Shlumiel would then mean paid or rewarded of God, or paid or rewarded by God. Like God paid me or God rewarded me. Ben Tzuri Shaddai. That's a cool name. We know what the first half is, and I think we know what the second half might be. Just had it.
There's a rock in there.
Sur is the
Rock of the
boulder,
Almighty, yeah. Rock.
and Shaddai
rock.
A
is El
flying
Shaddai.
rock that you don't want coming at you.
So whether Shaddai means mountainous or mighty or something like that, we've got the boulder of, or the rock of, or my rock is Shaddai, as in El Shaddai. Lihuda Nachshon ben Aminadav, who is Yehuda.
The third
fourth
son of Jacob. Or the
Third
fourth
son?
son. Third son of Jacob.
4.
Should be fourth
I'm
Four.
terrible.
because okay. And what does his name mean?
Praise.
Praise.
Lehodot. Tov lehodot laAdonai. Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. All right, so Yehuda has to do with praising. Lehodot. It helps that the first 3 root letters are also the ancient spelling of God's name. However, I'm guessing that this is a Yiktol Yod, a Hefiel Hey, and the first root letter, Vav Dalet missing Yod. So it's kind of a play on words there that we have what looks like a theophoric name, even though it probably wasn't originally theophoric. It originally means he praises or he has praised. But it's really cool to have the name of your God in your name. That's typically what's called theophoric. What about Nachshon?
Hmm.
Nachash.
The snake, an enchanter.
Snake, yeah.
Oh,
But this guy is named
Snake.
after Snake. Why would
Oh,
you name
great.
somebody Snake? Why would you name your son Snake?
Yeah.
We talked a little
Careful,
bit.
labor.
We
Must
Yeah,
talked
be
no,
a
no,
little
no,
bit.
somebody.
it's life
Wasn't it last
department.
week? Wasn't it last week that somebody was named Shafan? Was it last week? When were we talking about? No, no, it was I think it might have been in a different class, but it was in Jeremiah that somebody was named Shaphan. Does anybody know what a Shaphan is? Hashafan, Hakatan, Shachach Lisgor Hadelet,
I don't know.
Sanen Hamizken Vekibel Nazelet. It's a kid's song about a rabbit that forgot to close the door, got cold, and got the flu. He got a cold, and then the chorus line is la 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 apchi la 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 apchi, and the apchi means it's the onomatopoeia for sneezing in Hebrew. Anyway, Shafan, a great song. If you want to learn vocabulary through song, kids'
Yeah.
songs are a great
Oh,
way to
yeah.
do it. Anyway, Shaphan is a rabbit, a hare. Why would somebody in Jeremiah be named Hare, like a rabbit?
Hmm.
Swift.
Somebody who's swift, perhaps?
He
Yeah.
hops.
Well,
Or
what
he hops.
about somebody who's named after a mouse or somebody named after a flea?
Oh,
Oh,
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? Unless
no.
there's supposed to be
well,
some sort of an enchantment or charm because you have a name that is the same as these vermin or rodents that are not helpful. Somehow you master them. You become master over them. So apparently the guy named Fleas never has a problem with fleas or his whole household. So here, Nachshon puts him, it gives him a name that's kind of like, master of the snakes. They're not going to mess with me because my name is Nachshon. Maybe. There are a lot of names that come from plants and animals in the Bible. Can you all think of others?
Deborah.
Dvorah, who is
oh yeah, Deborah.
who is
B.
that? Mhm.
Deborah, which is a
Bee.
bee.
No?
Is this the
Yeah.
same root as Diber?
Debar. Deborah,
Debar.
the root of
Debar?
Deborah is Debar.
There, plague.
If this is a B, ooh, I see what you did there. Okay, so there's Diber, which means to speak. But then we also get there. I think there's there's Dovra. Oops, Dovra. That's a Kamatz Katan. And there's also the name of this parasha, Midbar.
Oh, sorry.
So Midbar, does Midbar have something to do with speaking? Only in a sermon. Only in a sermon. See, the root Dalit Bet Resh actually came from 2 different roots. This one over here was probably originally Dalet Pei Resh and turned into Dalet Bet Resh. And it has to do with wilderness, driving animals, desolate places. Whereas Dalet Bet Resh, original Dalet Bet Resh, has to do with buzzing, humming. So clearly that's where B comes from, and the buzzing of the vocal cords is where we get speaking from. So it's really frustrating that we have two roots that look the same, but they came from different places.
Mm.
Do we have any other examples of roots that look, or I'll just put it this way, a root letter changing almost inexplicably? I don't know about that. Yeah, there are tons of examples. Anybody think of
The
one?
bar makes a change from Genesis 11:1 to I think it's Genesis 38:5 when it before Deborah. So it meaning evil speech.
I don't know that Dalit Bet
Sure.
Resh necessarily
Yes,
means evil
Hadash.
speech. It's only a matter of context. If somebody is saying
In the context, yeah.
wicked, then we can call it evil speech. But
But
yeah,
it was
in
like
Genesis
tongue,
11
evil
with the
tongue.
Tower of Babel, Dvarim Achadim, something like that. Has anybody ever heard of the month called Cheshvan?
Yes.
Do you know what it's called in Akkadian,
No.
Babylonian? Mar
Mm.
Cheshvan. Does anybody know what that means? Still don't recognize it. I was going to say, what is the meaning of the name of the month Cheshvan? But it's a trick question because it's not a complete word. But rather, it was originally Mal Cheshvan. Does anybody know what the Yareach is?
Moon.
Good.
Moon.
So Malech has to do with Yareach, moon, or the month of, and then Shavan. Now remember that this Vav right here was originally a W sound. It was a bilabial. It comes from this.
Shemin?
Mem is a bilabial.
Oya?
Vav is a bilabial. There's a shift from Mem to Vav. How do we know? Because Mal Cheshvan is the 8th month. You see it yet? You see it yet?
Shmone is 8.
Oh,
Yeah, Shmone Shmona, 8. So
Okay.
Mal Cheshvan is originally
Oh.
Shmone, but it turns into comes from Shwone. Shwone with a W sound in it. And in Hebrew, that turns into a mem, Shmone. So we get to see bilabials changing out. W becomes mem
Wow.
in
Wow.
Hebrew, Shmone. So it's the 8th month. How about Barzel? Anybody know what Barzel is?
Iron.
Huh?
the I.
Iron.
Good. What is it called in Aramaic? Barzel.
So
Bezel.
Barzel. So again, bilabials changing out.
Hmm.
it
Uh,
looks like Brazil, who is the biggest iron exporter in the world, by the way.
Wonder if
Wow.
that's wonder if
Interesting.
that's a coincidence.
I think not.
I
Wow.
think not. Anyway, so the point is, if you ever possibly see a connection between two different roots, even though the letters are off a little bit, especially if especially if the letter that is changed belongs to the same linguistic category of consonants, like bilabials, then there's a good chance they're related. That's actually one of the reasons that people believe, or linguists believe, that nefesh is related to linshom. Linshom is to breathe, and a nefesh is a breathing thing.
Oh, that's a soul. Yeah.
Later, it turns into person, soul, something like that. But
Living
originally,
being.
it has to do with something that breathes.
Does it mean throat as well?
Neshefti.
There you go.
Neshefti,
Yeah, it has
my
to do with
soul.
throat and breathing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the original meaning of it. So we still have
Oh.
the verb linshom or nasham, which means breathing, to breathe. He breathed. And nefesh is the noun. Now, we also do get to see later on another noun come up, neshama. Neshama. And this
Neshama Telahel.
is actually a very I don't want to say
Hallelujah.
it's a common name. It's also used in Hebrew a lot. Like if you want to say, my dear, I really want to be sincere with you. That my dear that you might say in English, in Hebrew, it's neshama sheli. My soul. You're speaking to somebody, my soul, neshama sheli. So it's really beautiful. But that's been fun. Let's go on to some more names. Or we can skip quite a bit if we want to. Let me see, how much time do we have? We have plenty of time. Should we skip or keep going?
Keep going.
All right. Next verse. Who's Christine, could you read, please?
Sure. Le Yisakar Nahan no sorry Natanel ben Zoar.
Very good.
Oh my
Ooh,
goodness. You were gonna laugh. You were gonna laugh. My son's name is Natan Neil. Literally, that is his first name and his last name. How did that happen?
that's
That
awesome.
is so weird. Tell me what it means quick. He's gonna
Well,
die.
what does it mean?
Well,
God gave.
Natan is he
God gave.
gives.
Yes.
That's why I named him
Gave.
Natan.
Right? Who
Oh,
gave?
God.
God.
God gave
God
is
gave.
Natanel. God
I'm
gave.
sorry, you guys. I just had this weird thing happen. I'm
No, it's
totally
fine.
serious.
That's
We
awesome.
always kid. He was such a difficult baby that he was the gift that kept giving.
Oh yeah.
To
Yeah.
say,
Sounds like it.
oh, Dora, I'm so grateful for him. Please help him sleep.
What about Yissachar? Yissachar, what is his name?
Laughter. He-
That's Yitzchak. Tzachak.
Oh,
Gift,
yes, sorry.
money,
I'm sorry.
reward,
Mhm.
reward.
The warder.
You
Right.
will bring a reward.
Sachar is a reward. Sachar is a reward. So I put it on the wrong side. It's supposed to go over there. Everybody makes mistakes. All right. So Sachar is a reward. Yissachar. What? Why is there an extra scene?
Tom, the gift.
We've got options here. So one option says
Doubling
that the doubling dagesh that's in here was actually made explicit with two letters seen. Okay. I mean, the problem with this is that usually Hebrew does not explicitly write something that should be doubled by a dagesh. So the fact that it's written here consistently, I don't know, it doesn't really seem to match up. Now, there was a certain rabbi that would actually pronounce this name a little bit differently. He would pronounce it Yesh Sachal. So he would make this an SH sound and this an S sound, as in seen. It's as if this were a shin dot and this were a sin dot. Yishsachal. Yishsachal. If that were the case, then what does it mean? It means that we're looking at two parts of the name. Yish is essentially yesh. There is. Sachal would have to do with there is a reward. Also, it could be a deliberately shortened form of ish. Ish sachar. Now this might be a little bit hitting closer to home, maybe hitting a little too close to home, Wasn't there a story behind Issachar? Something about
Issachar.
mandrakes and love apples
Oh,
and
Jacob was rented.
he was
yeah.
rented.
Get the night.
Issachar,
Oh no.
Jacob was rented for the night. So from that rental agreement, they got Ish Sachar, a man from renting.
Mm.
Oh no. He got pimped.
Ding.
I'm sorry.
Oh, snap. Wow. And he walks around the rest of his life being named Issachar. What does your name mean? Reward?
Yeah.
Ben Tsuar. What is
Son
Tsuar?
of the rock, perhaps?
That was Tsul. This is now
Oh.
there's an
Little,
I being shoved
little,
in.
littleness.
Oh.
Who
Let's-
is Sa'ir?
Little?
Sa'ir or Sa'ar. Sa'ar is distress. Sa'ir is a youngster.
Yeah,
What's the connection?
he's short. I don't know.
Probably because youngsters can handle distress.
Oh.
People, not so much. You know, when you're young, you fall, you bounce, you get back up. When you're older, you fall, you sit there a moment, make sure everything still works. I don't know. It might actually
You're
come from
fine. Get
different
up.
Saudis.
You're not bleeding.
Yeah, exactly. But su'ar might be related to either distress or young or something like that. Let's go have a look and see what the experts have to say about su'ar.
The
Small,
name of
Small.
probably tsa'il, someone insignificant, someone young, someone small.
was the name of the village that Lot or not? Yeah, Lot wanted to escape to.
Wasn't it Zavoyim?
I don't remember. I thought it was Zoar in English.
Ah, okay.
Can't remember.
They were the three cities. I think Zeboyim. No, I can't find it. What? Gosh, where was that?
19.
Genesis. Huh?
Genesis 19:22 and 23.
Bam. You're absolutely right. So
Hmm.
I'm glad you
But
thought
that's a whole involved though, yeah.
it's okay. So
Okay.
makes it a noun. The Cholam Vav makes it a noun. The Shurik makes it a verbal form, even though the Shurik probably ultimately turned into a Cholam Vav. So there's actually a little bit of ambiguity. Anyway, and still having to do with little, small. Let me just harp on that for that point for just a second. Originally, Hebrew had how many vowels? Three.
Three.
Only three. U, E,
I,
ah.
ah.
Or I'm actually going to turn it around. Ah, E.
E. Oop.
Right. So from E, we get the E vowels. From U, we get the O vowels. And strangely, sometimes the A vowel turned into an O. And strangely, sometimes A disappeared and was represented with an E. But the point is, we started with three, and then the other two developed over time. So here, when we see Tzo'ar, we can be pretty certain that the original form would have been Tzu'ar. Tzu'ar. So it's not that big of a not that big of a difference in my opinion. However, if the U is over under the ayin, well, then that's got to be a verbal pattern, like tsa'ur, like we saw earlier with come on, help me out. We just saw one with a'u. It was all I can think of now is baruch. Yep, I can't remember. Go back to where was it? Shalom. That's what it was.
Loom.
All right, so this is probably a more original oo vowel. Yeah, I don't think it I don't think it would be a verbal form, but hey, I reserve the right to be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. Only way to learn is to make mistakes, I think. All right, next one. Alan, could you read?
לזבולון, אליאב, בן חילון.
Mm-hmm. Good. Lizvulun, Eliav, Ben Chelon. Okay, so we call this in English Zebulun. In Hebrew, it's not quite so impressive, if I can use that word. Zvulun. Whatever. What does it mean, Zvulun? Do you know any other names that have the root Zain Bet Lamed? Like Isabel?
Mm. Is it exalted or something like that?
Mhm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Usually
High and exalted.
the Zain Bet Lamed has to do with some sort of exalted, usually prince, maybe. Or yeah, exalted. I think that's probably the best thing. Let's just go with that. So Zvulun has something to do with being exalted. What about Isabel? Was it Isabel or Isabella? Jezebel. What about her name? What does it mean? E is probably coming from A, where Zevel, the honor, the prince, something like that. So where is the prince? What about how about this one? I'll put an ooh in there. Do you all know this one?
About, oh,
Beelzebub?
Yeah.
Beelzebub. Oh, Beelzebub.
So this is what
Beelzebub.
later on this is called Beelzebub,
Zebuva.
King of
but it was
Beelzebub.
originally
Lord of the Bees.
Beelzebul.
Would
Lord
that
of
mean the
Flies.
Lord of the Bees?
The one with
Flies.
the zebaba, that's a
Zul,
zvuv is
Zul,
flies.
Flies.
Oh,
Zvuv,
fly.
Su,
Okay.
Su,
zvuv is
Zuv,
flies,
Zuv.
whereas Zain Bet Lamed has to do with honor, prince, royalty, something like that. So Lord of the Princes is its original name, Beelzebul. And then in come the Hebrews to put a little twist on it that makes everybody chuckle. Beelzebub. He's the Lord of the Flies. Why? Because his sacrifices are putrefying and full of flies.
Mm.
Why? Because he's not consuming them, because he doesn't exist.
Mm.
He's a non-god. But there's that Zavul built into it as well.
Right.
Eliav means
Oh my God, his father.
God is my
yeah,
father.
God of his father.
exactly.
Father,
So,
God of
so
Father.
either
Yeah.
it's my God is father or God of father. Possibly the God of my father or something. Yeah, we don't know the
Oh,
backstory.
yeah,
We have his name. Ben Chelon. Uh-oh, what do we do with this?
Hello.
I know two things came to mind when I read this, and I hope that I'm wrong. Oh, of course. Now okay, a third thing came to mind, probably the correct one. Okay, Chelon. Does this remind us of any other Hebrew words? What's this word?
Hair.
Yeah.
Let's try something out. What's this word?
Bet.
Yeah.
Bet.
Meaning? No?
House.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's actually
Right.
house. It's actually house of. It's
Bet.
construct form. So what does it come from?
Bite.
Bayit.
Bait.
Bayit. Exactly. So what
Bayit.
did this
Okay.
come from?
Oh, how you like strength or something?
Exactly. So usually it looks like
Ah.
this, Hayil, but in pausal form it can have a kamatz, Hayil, strength, army, power. So chelon has that on suffix on the end that we've already seen multiple times, like nachshon and shimon, but here it's chelon. Now, the reason that I chuckled at first is because I thought of two other things. First off, chalon. What's a chalon? It's a window.
A window.
I'm like, there's no way this dude's name is Window. It can't be. Can't be. And the second thing I thought of was holy.
Mm.
Mighty.
Oh, sick.
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 So holy is a
Kachala.
sickness.
My sickness.
Chalon is a
You
window,
make me
but
sick.
how how do I know that this root over here has nothing to do with sickness or windows?
Would that be
Tzere.
the sun?
Mm.
The tzere is a long vowel. It doesn't just flippantly come out of nowhere. It has to either be an originally long vowel or some sort of hate to use the technical term, some sort of an apocopaton from a diphthong or triphthong. So if you have multiple vowels with maybe a vav or a double or a yod in the middle, and it creates a diphthong or triphthong like aya, awa, ayi, iya, iyi, iwa. All of those are diphthongs or triphthongs. Hebrew likes to shorten those. So in the word chayil, we get this ayi. And this gets shortened down to tzere. Same as it did in bayit. In construct, it becomes beit. Aaron, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
The sickness, the chali, isn't one of the sons of Elimelech and Ruth? Isn't his name sickness?
Machlon. His name is
The other
you,
one,
you said Eli, but I think you mean
Elimelech.
right. Elimelech, the father, two of his sons were Machlon
Oh, yeah.
v'Chilion. Machlon.
Kelion. Kelion.
Okay, Machlon and Chilion. I don't think there's a yod. I can't remember. Anyway, we'd spell it like this. So Kilion has a kaf at the front, but
Ah,
Machlon has the root chet lamed yod, which means sick.
okay.
But yeah, so and by the way, the word here is holy. There's an O sound here, probably because it was originally something like holy, and it's got that O vowel here, much like kodesh or rochav. It's just that the segol that we would have expected in this word, like kodesh, gets overruled by the yod at the end. Instead of holy, that A just becomes E, holy. Do we know any other penultimate stress words that have an O and a yod at the end? How about yofi?
Oh, yeah. Yofe.
What is
Yofe.
yofi?
Good. Great.
Beautiful.
Me.
Beauty.
Yofe. Oh,
Beauty.
oh,
So the root,
yefe. Yefe.
no, it's yofi. So it comes from
Oh,
the word
okay.
yafe. Yafe is the adjective. Something
Okay.
is beautiful, but then yofi is the noun. Beauty.
Okay. Oh,
Let's see. Is there anything else? There are lots more. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. That's all. All right. Next.
Roy. Oh, never mind.
There you go. Okay. So
little E.
that one's a little bit different. And Ro'i, let's see, that would have, yeah, it would have a reduced kamatz right here. Ro'i probably comes from the ro'e, which is a participle, with a pronominal suffix, e, referring to me. So ro'e is the one seeing
Me.
me.
Okay. Okay.
And
Yeah.
because of the movement of because the stress, how do I say this? The stress should have, There's a couple of steps there. I feel like I'm not showing my work when I say it that way. There was a stress change, but unfortunately that syllable dropped out because it was a superfluous yod, but I digress. The point is this reduces to a reduced vowel, ro'i, the one who sees me, or the one seeing me. But that doesn't have penultimate stress like o'i. All right. I think that's enough. And next up, Annie, I believe it's your turn. Could you read, please?
Yes. Livnei Yosef le Ephraim Elishama ben Ami ben Amihud le Limnashe Gamliel ben Padatzur.
Padatzur. Yeah, I can tell we're going to have fun with that one. Let me read through one time. Livnei Yosef leEphraim Elishama ben Amihud Limnashe Gamliel ben Padatzur. All right. Who is Yosef? Start off with an easy question.
Doesn't
The
Beloved
Joseph is the son of Rachel
Beloved son of
and
Rachel.
Jacob.
Firstborn son of Rachel. Who's the secondborn son of Rachel?
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
And only those two
Benjamin.
sons, and then she died after Benjamin. What is the
Yeah.
meaning of Joseph's name?
Yes.
Increase.
No, Lord,
Increase.
that is
This is a yiktol yod. The root apparently comes from vav samech pei, which might be related to aleph samech pei, asaf, to gather, but here it means to add or do again, or something like that. So here Yosef is supposed to be prophetically speaking that God will add to me another son. She has Joseph and she's already thinking about the next one, or at least that's the explanation the Bible gives. All right, so his first son, Ephraim. What is the meaning of his son's name, Ephraim?
double fruit.
Be fruitful, productive, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it looks like the root is pri,
Yeah.
fruit. It does have a dual suffix on the end of it. The aleph at the front, we do get alephs on the front of words that start with a shva, kind of like tmol becomes, at least in modern Hebrew, becomes etmol, or at least later biblical Hebrew, it becomes etmol. So there are plenty of places where we get an extra aleph on the front. Maybe that's what happened here. But what if the original meaning of his name has something to do with aleph yiktol? I am fruitful, having something to do with them. I am making them fruitful. I don't know. I'm spitballing here, but it looks to me, and especially because the Bible gives us the explanation of his name, it has to do with him being fruitful in a land not his own while he's in Egypt.
That's
Is there
beautiful.
Is there a derivative of that word for Bethlehem?
That's Bethlehem is a house of bread.
Yeah, there's the suburb of Bethlehem.
Are you thinking of Ephrath?
Yes. Is that completely different?
Ephrata?
Yeah, Ephrata or Ephrat, or in modern, in English it's Ephrath, or in Hebrew, in modern Hebrew it's Ephrat. I imagine it still has to do with. You know what? I just assumed that it had to do with fruitfulness. But there is a root, aleph pei resh. What's the root aleph pei resh? Efer.
Oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
It's not afar. That's with
Or
an
dust?
ayin.
Oh,
There's
I
a-
was gonna say.
I saw double ash heap.
Yeah, afar is dust,
Yeah,
but
dust.
efer is either ash or soot.
Okay.
So is this place called, named after ash or soot, or is it named after being fruitful? Like, is it a fruitful place, fertile land? It's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. All right. Let's see. Ephraim had a son named Elishama, meaning
My God.
God has heard. My God has heard.
my God has heard. And the son of Amihud.
My people.
Either
My
people of or my people, right? Hud.
Food.
Oh,
Majesty or
food.
splendor.
Very good. So in later biblical, it turns from Hud into Hod. There's that oo changing to O again. Here's your original vowel oo. Later it's an O, but Hod is splendor. So this is a people of splendor, or my people is splendor. Or I still think that's probably a genitive yod, but I wasn't there, so I can't be sure. And then Limnashe, that's his other son. Ephraim was the one, Menashe was the other. What's the name of his? What's the meaning of his name? Does anyone remember the explanation that Joseph gives?
Forgetfulness.
Exactly.
Causing you
God
for-
has made me fruitful, and He has caused me to forget
Yeah. Okay.
the land I came from. So Menashe has to do with forgetfulness. Trying to remember Menashe. Trying to remember why the Dagesh is there. I looked it up and I can't remember it. I looked it up a long time ago. So let me just look it up again. Yeah, helps if I get back to numbers. All right, where are you? Eretz. Did I go too far? No, we've done this. Issachar, Zebulun,
Right there, right there.
Hud, Gamliel. There it is. And Hud Limnashe. Nope. Where are you?
Causing to forget.
This one. From Nasha to forget. So my question still isn't answered. Why is there a Dagesh in Limnashe? Oh, I just figured out the answer. Has anyone figured it out? Why is there a Dagesh in the Shin?
It's doubled.
It's followed by a short vowel.
No. You can get Dagesh before long and short vowels. It's probably coming from PL. It looks like a PL participle. We can tell because there's a shva, patach, dagesh, which is reminiscent of PL, especially in the yiktol forms. And there's a mem participle, forgetting.
Mhm.
I wonder if he was forgetful. That'd just be funny. And
Like me.
Menashe, he has caused me to forget the place I came from. What about Gamliel? That's actually that's a popular rabbinic name. Anybody know why?
Well, Paul would sit
Yeah.
with Gamaliel.
Exactly. Paul was trained up at the feet of Gamliel. Now, then the question becomes, which Gamliel? There were two of them. There was one which was a grandson of Hillel. What was his name?
Praise.
What was his son's name? Was it I think it was Shimon. I could be wrong, but I think his name was Shimon.
Shmini?
Then his son was Gamliel.
Ah.
Then there was somebody else, can't remember his name, and then there was another Gamliel. So we get Gamliel the older, Gamliel the younger. This one right here is the one that Paul would have studied under. This is also the one that speaks up one time on behalf of, what was it? Peter and was it
Silas.
Peter and John? Peter and
John.
John. Remember when Peter and John are put into prison, Gamaliel's like, listen, if this thing isn't of God, it's going to piddle out. And if it is of God, then there's nothing you can do to stop it. So why push the issue? Makes you wonder why he defended that fledgling movement, that movement that was starting up, which became nascent Christianity. Makes you wonder. And then later on, there was a Gamliel too. This is the one that shows up being quoted in the Mishnah. Mishnah, of course, was written 200 CE or AD, so that's later on. Ben Padatzul. What is going on here? Padatzul. We know Tzul. Tzul is a...
Got a rock again.
There's that rock. or
Rock
boulder.
again.
Exactly. Just imagine all these parents looking around. What will we name our son? Well, we have rocks, we have rabbits, we have snakes.
Wow.
So what is this? Pada.
Ransom. The rock has a ransom.
Yeah.
Rock is
Ransom, right?
ransom rock.
What is it?
Oh.
What is it called? It's is it Pidion? I remember this root from a prayer in the Shmoneh Esrei and the Amidah in the 18 blessings where it says Peditanu, you have redeemed us. So pada, to redeem. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Pidyon haben. Pidyon haben. Has anybody ever heard of this before? What is haben?
The sun.
The sun.
The
Pidyon,
sun.
from this root,
Ransom.
the ransom of the sun. Anybody remember what this is?
Ah.
5 shekels.
5
Oh.
shekels.
Remember in the Bible, it says if you have a son,
Yeah.
or to ransom that son, if he's either you dedicate him to the temple, much like Samuel was dedicated to the temple, or if you're going to redeem a firstborn son, pidyon haben. You're supposed to pay the temple 5 shekels.
Gamal. Isn't Gamal like a I swear I knew the banker. Gamal. Like a investor? Gamal. So before you pay in those ransom from you know what I mean? Because the word Gamal.
Gamal.
Gamal means that was like a
Okay, so a gamal is a camel, but the verb gamad
oh
means to pay back, especially for good. You know, you
okay.
think how in English, I'm going to pay that guy back. It's usually not a
Oh,
positive connotation,
not that kind of payback, huh?
whereas gamal has a positive connotation most of the time. Pay back
Okay.
for good. Man, he was so good to me. I'm going to gamal him. I'm going to pay
What
him.
is what
Oh.
is the word for wean? To wean a child? Is it similar?
I believe it is. Yigamel. Mm-hmm. Yigamel. It's if we look for the story of Isaac, I think we get to see that verb. Where's the story of Isaac? Let's see. Weaned. Well, no, we get to see it in Samuel too. So
Oh
is
yeah.
this one
When
okay?
Hannah.
Yigamel. So it looks like the same root, doesn't it?
So weaning is a ransom. That's wild.
Well, I'm sorry.
Would
Pada is a ransom.
Oh, okay.
Gamal is related because Nadiva said something about us, an investor.
Yeah, investment.
Okay.
Investment.
So let's see. Gamal means to treat a person, it says here either well or ill, depending on the context, or to ripen, by implication, to ripen. Ah, okay. So in that sense, the child has ripened.
Yeah.
It can now
He's
eat.
ready.
He can now eat yeah, a solid food. Interesting.
Very-
Half wonder if there's two different roots going on. I don't know. I can't quite visualize those two being related. Yeah, I don't
You've
see it.
never, you've said you're not a mom. I'm kidding.
Well, I know, I get
Pray,
that.
but
I get that
you were
bit.
like, oh, heavens, we're so grateful. Yeah,
One of the
you
ways
might,
that I teach my students to remember the verb gamal, bringing good, is by gamal, which is a cognate with the English word camel. You can see the k, the third letter of the alphabet, with g, the third letter of the alphabet, ma, la. And a camel was the freight truck of the ancient Near East. It's the thing that brought good stuff.
It was the one to bring the
That's-
trade
yeah.
over from one place to another,
Very
right?
good. So if you think about the camel bringing good stuff, then it'll help you remember the verb gamal, to bring good, to pay back. But as far as ripening and weaning, yeah, I don't have anything for that yet. All right, so pada has to do with ransom, and tzul with a rock. So ransoming a rock? Anyone? Ransoming or yeah, you got me.
Well, our
They're
rock
both beautiful
of
terms.
salvation,
There you go. So if
rock
the
of salvation.
rock has redeemed
Yeah.
or something like that, or if there's something else going on like a rock of salvation, yeah.
Or God's millstone, which we don't even want to know if we want to go there.
The next verse is four words long. Who's going to read it?
It's missing a dagesh, isn't it? In Ben?
Living, nah, yeah.
Yeah.
Here?
No. In Le Benjamin, isn't that shouldn't there be a dagesh inside? Or am I wrong?
How many kinds of dagesh are there?
Oh, Living, I mean,
I do not know.
because
There are two kinds of dagesh. There's one which is a weak dagesh, and there's one that is a strong dagesh. A strong will double a letter, like grammatically double a letter. Weak only shows up in 6 letters if there's no preceding vowel sound. Anybody remember which 6 letters it shows up in?
The Gavad Kafat.
The
Okay.
Bega letters.
All right. So now, why doesn't it have a dagesh? Is there a preceding vowel sound? Apparently, an audible shva.
Yeah.
Okay.
The shva starts the word. It has to be audible, so it's going to have a dagesh in it. So the same reason that this one has a dagesh, because there's no preceding vowel. But this one does not have a dagesh because there is a preceding vowel.
Is that why Queen of Sheba has the strong dagesh? Okay, that makes sense then. All right.
Well, actually, no. That's a little bit longer story, because in the Queen of Sheba is the Queen of Shva with an aleph at the end. I can't remember. It's probably a kamatz, Shva. So in the Hebrew, there is no dagesh. But in the Greek, there is. Well, it's not it should be, something like this, which we would call Siba. Interesting that here the Greek, the translations recorded as Queen of Sheba, even though the Greek doesn't have a sh sound. Anyway, I digress. The point is that Greek has this B sound, so therefore the English has a B sound. So the question becomes, is the Greek B sound pronounced as a V, or is the Greek B sound preserving an original B sound here before the bet turned into vet? Frustrating, but depending on which stage of Hebrew we are in, the pronunciation would have changed. What language's pronunciation stays the same over time? I know of none. They change over time. So here we would have had an original B sound But because of Aramaic influence that came later on, they said, well, if there's a vowel before it, then b turns into v, which turned into v. Bringing us back to our original question. So is this beta of Greek actually veta like it is in modern Greek?
Yeah, it is in modern Greek.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is this B,
Rasmians. Yeah.
and is this B then preserving a beta that should have been pronounced as v, or is it preserving the original b sound of Sheba? Whew.
It's like the chicken and the egg.
Well, we all know that the chicken came first because the Lord
We
made
all know
them.
the chicken
Adonai
came
made the egg, made the
Uh,
made the
and
chickens.
and
Come
here
on.
also
They're
we know that
delicious.
bet came first. Bet came first, and later on, under Aramaic influence, turned into vet, which originally was a BH sound. V, v. Buzz your lips together. V. Much like p and f, you add an H and it makes it breathy. P versus f. I'm literally blowing through my lips, but that's what turned into an F sound. F. Same thing happens with B, same thing happens with K. And in fact, in all the other Begad Kefat letters too, we had the turning into the, and we had g turning into r, and turning into th.
So,
Did I forget any? Begad Kefat.
yeah.
I think I got them all.
Wow, that's amazing.
But
So
over
how do you say it? Is it Ben Yamin?
this would be
Levin.
How do you say it?
this would be, well, in modern
Well,
pronunciation, it would be
Ben.
Levin.
Obviously,
Mhm. Levin
Bin.
Yamin. Levin.
Levin. Okay, so it's a V.
Well, it is today. Probably wasn't originally. Oh, that's the funniest thing. I get some comments on my YouTube channel where they're like, this is just modern Hebrew pronunciation. It's not the
Oh.
original pronunciation. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that for a
So,
second. Which stage of Hebrew is the original? Because it can get really complicated really quickly.
Can I ask you about the P and the PH?
Yeah, of course.
In English, we say Pharaoh,
hmm
but it's not Pharaoh originally, right? It's Paro.
Right. So in Hebrew, it would have always been paro, but either under Aramaic influence or maybe Egyptian. I'm not an Egyptologist. I don't know. Maybe they had an original f sound instead of a p sound. We know that well, Greek had two different letters for p and f, but Hebrew only used one. So it seems to me that we have an inadequate way of studying Egypt, the Egyptian language, through either Greek or Hebrew. We probably need to study it through the Egyptian language. So yeah, I don't know what the original in the Egyptian was.
Because I was trying to figure out if Pharaoh was compound, because the Roa could have been Roe, because he has that little crooked shepherd staff that he had in Egypt. So I just didn't know.
Ah, okay. So paro, and if we tried to para, para. Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. Do you want to look it up?
No, the only reason I asked was because every time I see a picture of pharaohs, they had that shepherd staff, and isn't Roe or Roa? It's spelled differently, but I didn't know. You just said is it Egypt influencing Hebrew or the other way around?
But the Ra and Pharaoh, that's the sun. That's a sun god. He's not a shepherd.
No, but I mean, as far as like the Semitic Hyksos when they ruled Egypt, like because I don't know. That's my
Yeah.
Paro.
So if Pharaoh's name is of Semitic origin, then I would first lop off the O vowel at the end, meaning his something. But if you have Ra'ah, Resh, Ayin, right, Pei Resh is a cow, but Resh Ein Hey, which was originally a yod, would be a shepherd.
Okay.
Then what do you do with the pay? Yeah, this I'm not sure what the
Okay.
to say about it. It doesn't look like it would be compound to me either. It's going to be a loan word from Egyptian, or I would look for the root pay resh ein if that one exists. Yeah. But no, I don't know. Not a clue.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
All right. Well, I think we're about out of time. Thank you all so much for joining. Next week we'll do the same thing. If anybody wants to donate to Hungry for Hebrew, by all means, this is how you can do it. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Lehitraot. V'shalom.
להתראות.
תודה
שלום.
רבה,
בבקשה.
מצוין. It was
תודה
great.
רבה.
Absolutely. Thank you. Come back next week. Tell your friends, and we'll have a whole bunch of
Okay.
fun. See you then.
All right.
Lehitraot.
Thank you,
להתראות.
Sarah. להתראות. Bye, Eliana.